The great hall of the Galactic Council shimmered with light that bounced off its crystal walls. Beings from 1,000 worlds moved about, each different from the next. Some floated in bubbles of liquid, others walked on many legs, and some simply glided through the air. In a small side room, far from the busy center, Junior Archivist Zix9 worked alone. His 4 arms moved quickly over the ancient records. His job was simple: review old files and update the Council's knowledge base. Most days were boring. This day was different. Zix9's upper eye noticed a strange glow from a dusty corner of the digital archive. A file, older than most stars in the current galaxy, pulsed with a faint blue light. It carried the highest security marking he had ever seen. "That's odd," he whispered to himself. His thin fingers touched the file, and a request for access code appeared. Zix9 entered his special archivist code. Access denied. He tried the emergency override. Access denied again. His curiosity grew stronger. This was not just any old file. Something important lay hidden inside. After trying several more codes without success, he contacted his supervisor. 3 days later, after approval from 7 different council leaders, Zix9 stood before the same file. This time, the High Counselor Elmith was with him. The ancient being's skin glowed softly in the dim light of the archive room. "Proceed," Elmith said, her voice barely a whisper. Zix9 entered the special code given to him. The file opened slowly, as if waking from a long sleep. Both beings expected to see pages of information, maybe maps or scientific data. Instead, just one simple message appeared, written in the language of the first ones, the ancient species that had formed the Council millions of years ago. Sector 8-73-2 contains a primitive species designated humans. Under no circumstances are they to be contacted, studied, or disturbed. This is not negotiable. Below the message were coordinates to a small blue planet in a spiral galaxy. Nothing more. "That's all?" Zix9 asked, his voice showing his disappointment. "No reason. No explanation." Elmith's eyes narrowed. The first ones never needed to explain themselves. She studied the message again. "Still, it is strange. What could be so dangerous about a primitive species that the first ones would lock this warning away with such high security?" "We should investigate," Zix9 said, his scientific curiosity taking over. "No," Elmith said sharply. "The warning is clear. But High Counselor, the first ones left our galaxies millions of years ago. Times have changed. Our technology is far beyond what even they had. Surely we can at least observe these humans." Elmith hesitated. The young archivist had a point. The Council had evolved and grown powerful. What harm could come from simply looking? "I will bring this to the Science Directorate," she decided. "But we must be careful. The first ones never did anything without reason." As they left the archive room, neither noticed that the file had started to glow brighter, as if it was trying to warn them again. In the vastness of space, a small blue planet continued its orbit around an average yellow star, unaware that its long isolation was about to end. Science Director Valora stood tall before the Galactic Council. Her purple skin shimmered under the bright lights of the Grand Meeting Hall. 600 council members from different worlds watched her with their many eyes, tentacles, and sensing organs. "This warning is outdated," Valora said, her voice clear and confident. "Our scans show these humans are only a level 2 civilization. They have barely left their own moon." She waved her long, thin arm, and images of Earth appeared in the air. The council members saw blue oceans, green lands, and gray cities. They saw humans fighting wars, cutting down forests, and filling their air with smoke. "Look at them," she continued. "They fight among themselves over tiny pieces of land. They destroy their own planet. What possible danger could they be to us, a level 12 civilization with technology they cannot even imagine?" Elder Dorn, one of the oldest council members, floated forward in his gravity chair. His skin was wrinkled and pale, his 3 eyes cloudy with age. The first ones left that warning for a reason, he said, his voice weak but firm. They were wiser than we are. We should respect their decision. The first ones left our galaxies millions of years ago, Valora replied. Times have changed. We have evolved. Our science has grown beyond even their understanding. She turned to face all the council members. I am not suggesting we make contact with these humans. I only wish to observe them. 3 small ships with our best cloaking technology. The humans will never know we are there. We will learn why the first ones feared them so much, and then we can decide what to do. The debate lasted 3 days. Some council members agreed with Valora. Others sided with Elder Dorn. In the end, they voted. The result was close, 301 to 299, in favor of Valora's mission. We will use the best stealth vessels, Valora promised. No human will detect us. The ships will remain in orbit around Earth for 6 months. They will only observe and report back. No direct contact with humans is allowed. Elder Dorn shook his head sadly. You do not understand what you are doing, he said. Some warnings should be heeded, not questioned. Your concern is noted, Elder, Valora said respectfully. But science must always question. That is how we progress. 2 weeks later, 3 small ships left the Council's main space station. Each was only the size of a small hill, tiny by the Council's standards. They were painted black and covered with special materials that bent light around them, making them nearly impossible to see. Their engines made no sound and left no heat trail. The journey to Earth took just 2 days using the Council's advanced space-folding technology. The ships positioned themselves in high orbit, far above where Earth's primitive satellites could detect them. Captain Zrel, commander of the main observation vessel, sent a message back to the Council. Observation mission in place. Beginning data collection on human civilization. Cloaking systems working perfectly. Humans show no sign of detecting our presence. First report will follow in 7 days. In the vastness of space, the 3 black ships began their work, watching the small blue planet spin below them. They believed themselves completely hidden. They were wrong. For 2 months, the 3 alien ships watched Earth from space. They collected data on human cities, languages, technology, and behavior. Everything was going as planned. These humans are quite interesting, said Science Officer Nex as she studied the information on her screen. They have so many different cultures and languages. They make beautiful art, but they are also violent and destructive. Captain Zrel nodded. Yes, but they pose no threat to us. Their most advanced weapons would not even scratch our ships. The aliens followed their strict rules. Stay cloaked at all times, do not interfere with humans, and collect data only. Each week, they sent reports back to the Galactic Council. Then, on the 63rd day of the mission, something went wrong. The smallest of the 3 ships, called Scout 2, was collecting air samples over a place called Montana. The ship moved low through Earth's atmosphere, invisible to human eyes. Inside, Engineer Trill was checking the ship's systems. Suddenly, red lights flashed across his control panel. Captain, Trill called over the communication system. We have a problem with the cloaking device. It's overheating. Fix it immediately, Captain Zrel ordered from the main ship. I'm trying, but... Before Trill could finish, the cloaking device failed. For 73 seconds, Scout 2 was fully visible, hovering only 300 meters above a small human town. Down below, a human named Mike Johnson was checking the fence around his farm when he looked up and saw something impossible in the sky. A black, oval-shaped object with no wings, making no sound. Mike stood frozen for a moment, then pulled out his phone and took 12 clear photos before the object suddenly disappeared. Back on Scout 2, Trill finally got the cloaking device working again. Damage report, demanded Captain Zrel. Cloaking is back online, but... Trill hesitated. Captain, we were visible for over a minute. There were humans below. Did any of them see us? I think so. One human was pointing something at us, probably a communication device with image capturing capability. Captain Zrel contacted Science Director Valora immediately. She dismissed his concerns. "This is nothing to worry about," Valora said. "Humans report seeing what they call UFOs all the time. No one believes them. It will be forgotten in a few days." But Mike Johnson didn't forget. That night, he uploaded his photos to the internet. By morning, they had spread across the world. Unlike most UFO photos, these were clear and detailed. They showed something that clearly wasn't made by humans. 3 days later, in a secret underground facility, General Sarah Chen studied the photos with a team of scientists and military experts. "The object was approximately 20 meters long," said Dr. Rodriguez, pointing to his calculations. "It has no visible propulsion system. The material appears to absorb radar signals." "Can we track it?" asked General Chen. Dr. Rodriguez smiled. "Not with our regular systems, but if we adjust our deep space monitoring satellites to look for the specific energy signature shown in these photos." General Chen nodded. "Do it, and contact our allies. I want every telescope and satellite we have looking for these visitors." In orbit above Earth, the aliens continued their mission, unaware that humans now knew they were there and were already hunting for them. What the aliens didn't know was that humans had been preparing for this day for a very long time. In underground bases around the world, secret doors opened. In mountain bunkers and desert facilities, lights turned on in rooms that had been waiting for decades. The world's governments activated something called the Prometheus Protocol, a plan created long ago for humanity's first real contact with alien life. President Maria Garcia sat at the head of a large table in a room deep below the White House. Around her sat the leaders of 20 major countries, some in person, others on secure screens. "The images are confirmed to be authentic," she said. "We are not alone, and they are watching us." The Russian president nodded. "Our scientists have found unusual energy readings in orbit. 3 objects, moving in ways our satellites cannot." "The Chinese Space Telescope has captured brief images as well," said the Chinese premier. "They appear when they change position." President Garcia stood up. "For 100 years, we've looked to the stars and wondered if we were alone. Now we know we're not. And whoever they are, they didn't announce themselves. They're hiding, watching, studying us like animals in a zoo." She pressed a button, and a map of Earth appeared on the large screen, with red dots showing where the alien ships had been detected. "We need to be ready for anything," she continued. "As of now, the Prometheus Protocol is in full effect. All participating nations will activate their defense systems, but keep them hidden. We don't want our visitors to know that we know they're here." Across the world, things began to happen quietly. In a facility under the Arizona desert, Dr. James Wong typed a code into an old computer. A wall slid open, revealing a large room filled with strange technology. Machines built with science that most humans didn't know existed. "Power up the gravity sensors," he told his team, "and prepare the prototype shields." In Russia's Ural Mountains, Colonel Ivanov entered a long-abandoned military base. Inside, engineers were already bringing old weapon systems back online. Weapons designed to fight enemies not from Earth. Under the Indian Ocean, a submarine that didn't appear on any official records changed course and headed to a position directly below where one of the alien ships had been detected. And in offices and labs around the world, the brightest human minds were brought together with a single goal: understand the alien technology and find ways to defend against it. At NASA headquarters, General Chen met with top scientists who had been studying the UFO images. "What have we learned?" she asked. "Their ships bend light around them," said Dr. Rodriguez. "That's how they stay invisible. But when they move quickly or use too much power, the cloaking fails for a moment." "Can we track them consistently?" "Not yet, but we're getting better at it every day. We've adjusted our satellites to detect their energy signature. Soon we'll be able to follow their every move." General Chen smiled. "Good. keep working. And remember, nothing about this goes online or leaves this room. In space, Captain Zrel continued to report back to the Galactic Council that all was well. The humans, he said, were completely unaware of their presence. He had no idea that beneath the seemingly primitive surface of human civilization, a storm was brewing, a storm aimed directly at his ships. 6 months passed. The alien ships continued to watch Earth, collecting mountains of data on human behavior, technology, and biology. But Science Director Valora was not satisfied. "We need more information," she told Captain Zrel during their weekly meeting. "Observing from a distance is not enough. We need to study actual humans." "That would violate our non-interference orders," Zrel reminded her. Valora's eyes narrowed. "The Council wants results. I am authorizing a small collection mission. Find an isolated group of humans, take them for study, and return them with no memory of what happened." Zrel wanted to refuse, but Valora outranked him. "Very well," he said reluctantly. "We will find a suitable target." 3 days later, Scout 1 hovered invisibly above a small research ship in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The ship, named Horizon, carried 12 scientists studying ocean temperatures far from any land. "Perfect," said Medical Director Lorik, who would lead the capture team. "Isolated humans who won't be missed for weeks. We'll take them all." That night, as the human scientists slept, 6 aliens in protective suits teleported onto the horizon. They moved silently through the ship, injecting each human with a drug to keep them unconscious. Within 20 minutes, all 12 humans were transported to a special lab on the main alien ship. "Prepare them for examination," Lorik ordered. "I want to know everything about human biology." The aliens placed the humans in separate rooms with transparent walls. Each room contained a bed and basic facilities. Special machines monitored their vital signs. The aliens expected the humans to remain unconscious for at least 10 more hours. They were wrong. Commander Sarah Chen woke up 4 hours earlier than expected. She kept her eyes closed but could sense she was no longer on her ship. The air smelled different. The surface beneath her wasn't rocking with ocean waves. Slowly, she opened one eye just enough to see. She was in a small room with strange glowing walls. Outside, she could see creatures moving around. Tall, thin beings with purple skin and large eyes. Aliens, she thought, fighting to keep calm. "They've taken us." Years of military training before joining the research team kicked in. Sarah forced her breathing to remain slow and steady, making the monitors show she was still asleep. She studied the room, looking for anything she could use. The aliens had removed most of her clothes, leaving her in a thin hospital-type gown. But they had missed something important: the small metal implant in her arm. It wasn't just a tracking device as most people thought. It was much more. 2 rooms away, Dr. James Rodriguez was also awake and assessing the situation. Like Sarah, he had special training. He noticed that the door to his room had an electronic lock. The aliens clearly thought humans couldn't understand such advanced technology. They were wrong again. As Medical Director Lorik prepared his examination tools, he felt confident and excited. These humans were completely in his power. Soon, he would know all their secrets. He had no idea that within the first hour of waking, 2 of his specimens had already improvised weapons from medical equipment and were working on a plan to escape. And he certainly didn't know that back on Earth, the tracking implants in the missing scientists had already activated, sending their location to a very specific military satellite. The empty research ship Horizon was discovered floating in the Pacific Ocean 2 days after the aliens took its crew. There were no signs of struggle, no blood, no broken equipment, just 12 missing scientists and strange energy readings that no one could explain. In the White House Situation Room, President Garcia slammed her fist on the table. "They've taken our people," she said, her voice tight with anger. "This is no longer just observation. This is an attack." General Chen pointed to a blinking dot on the large screen showing Earth and the space around it. The tracking implants are working. We know exactly where our people are, on one of the alien ships. Can we communicate with them? Asked the president. Not directly, said General Chen. But all implants have an emergency function. If we activate it, it will send a small electrical pulse to let them know we're aware of their situation. Do it, ordered the president, and prepare our response. In orbit above Earth, Commander Sarah Chen felt a small shock in her arm. 3 quick pulses, then 2 long ones. The old military emergency code. We know. Help coming. Sarah took a deep breath and looked at the small piece of metal she had pulled from a medical device. It wasn't much of a weapon, but it would have to do. In the room next to hers, Dr. Rodriguez was working on the electronic lock using a wire from his bed frame. Medical Director Lorick was puzzled by the humans. They were not behaving as expected. Instead of showing fear, they were calm. Instead of begging for release, they were quiet and watchful. And their bodies were adapting to the alien sedatives much faster than anticipated. Fascinating creatures, he told Captain Zrel. Their pain tolerance is remarkable. Their neural pathways show unusual adaptability. And psychologically, they're showing signs of planning. Planning, asked Zrel. Planning what? Before Lorick could answer, an alarm sounded. Unauthorized access to system terminal in laboratory section, said a computerized voice. On Earth, world leaders gathered once more. This time, they were united with one purpose: to send a message that could not be misunderstood. In radio stations, television broadcast centers, and military bases around the world, technicians prepared to send the same signal on all frequencies. President Garcia stood before a camera in the White House. Behind her stood leaders from Russia, China, India, and the European Union. Today, we speak with one voice, she said, looking directly into the camera. To those who are watching our world, who have taken our people, we have this to say. The camera pulled back to show all the world leaders standing together as President Garcia continued. We know you are watching. Return what you have taken. This is your only warning. The message was broadcast into space in every language and on all known frequencies. In the Galactic Council's observation center, alien technicians were shocked when the message appeared on all their screens simultaneously. On the main alien ship, Captain Zrel watched the broadcast with growing concern. Then a second alarm sounded. Alert! Human female in containment room 5 has accessed ship systems through medical terminal. In her room, Commander Sarah Chen smiled as she continued typing on the small medical screen she had hacked. She was sending detailed information about the alien ship, its layout, its weapons, its weaknesses, back to Earth using the alien's own communication system. Captain Zrel's 3 hearts beat rapidly. The situation was spiraling out of control. Maybe, he thought for the first time, the ancient warning had been right after all. The Galactic Council was holding an emergency meeting. On the large screen, they watched the humans' message again. We know you are watching. Return what you have taken. This is your only warning. Empty threats, said Science Director Valora with a dismissive wave of her hand. They have no way to reach our ships. Elder Dorn floated forward in his gravity chair. You are making a terrible mistake. Return the humans immediately and leave their planet. We cannot show weakness, Valora argued. Besides, the information we're gathering is too valuable. While they debated, Captain Zrel watched his ship's sensors with growing alarm. The humans had been too quiet for the past 12 hours. Commander Chen had been recaptured after hacking their systems, but the damage was done. She had transmitted detailed information about the alien ships back to Earth. Now, Zrel's sensors detected unusual energy readings from the direction of Mars, the red planet next to Earth. Magnify that sector, he ordered. The screen showed nothing but empty space and the red planet, but the energy readings continued to increase. Something's not right, Zrel muttered. Then he noticed small movements in space, like ripples in water. enhance image, and adjust for light distortion. Before the computer could comply, the ship's alarm sounded. Multiple objects approaching at high speed called out the sensor operator. Suddenly, the main screen showed dozens of small objects racing toward the three alien ships. They were simple in design, metal cylinders with engines at one end. "Primitive missiles," said Zrel with relief. "Our shields can easily." He never finished his sentence. The missiles detonated at carefully calculated distances from the alien ships, creating a massive electromagnetic pulse. The aliens had never encountered such a simple yet effective weapon. Their advanced shields were designed to stop physical objects and energy beams, not widespread electromagnetic destruction. All three alien ships went dark as their systems failed. "Emergency power," Zrel shouted, but nothing happened. Through the viewports, Zrel and his crew stared in shock as hundreds of human spacecraft appeared from behind Mars. These weren't sleek, advanced ships like the aliens had. They were bulky, heavily armored, and bristling with weapons. For decades, humans had been building a secret fleet, hiding it on the far side of Mars, waiting for this moment. "Impossible," whispered Valora from the council meeting room, watching the live feed before it cut out. "They're just primitives." Back on the disabled alien flagship, Captain Zrel watched helplessly as the human ships surrounded them. A message came through on the emergency communication system, the only system still working. "Alien vessels," said a calm female voice. "This is General Maria Hernandez of the United Earth Defense Force. Your ships are disabled. Your weapons are offline. We are coming aboard to rescue our people. Any resistance will be met with deadly force." Through the viewport, Zrel saw smaller human craft detach from the larger ships and head toward his vessel. They were coming to board. In the medical section, Commander Sarah Chen felt the ship shudder as the electromagnetic pulse hit. The transparent walls of her room went dark, and the electronic lock failed. She pushed the door open and stepped into the corridor. In the darkness, she smiled. "Right on time," she whispered, and began freeing the other humans. As human soldiers boarded the alien ships, Science Director Valora felt real fear for the first time. In her private chamber on the main ship, she frantically searched through the ancient file that had started everything. "There must be more information," she muttered, her fingers moving quickly over the screen. "Why were we warned to stay away from humans?" Her desperation unlocked something. The hidden part of the file appeared. A data packet containing old video recordings. With shaking hands, Valora played the first one. The video showed Earth, but it looked different. The continents were shaped slightly differently. The date stamp showed it was from 30,000 years ago. On the screen, tall ships landed on Earth. The aliens inside looked similar to Valora's people, but different. They were the first ones, the ancient species that had created the Galactic Council. The first ones approached a group of primitive humans dressed in animal skins. At first, they tried to communicate peacefully. But then the scene changed. The first ones were using weapons, trying to force the humans to obey them. What happened next shocked Valora. The primitive humans fought back. They were physically stronger than the first ones. They learned quickly, stealing alien technology and turning it against their attackers. The humans didn't just fight to defend. They fought to win completely. More videos showed the war spreading across Earth and then into space. The primitive humans, using stolen technology, pursued the first ones to other planets. The humans didn't stop until every invader was gone from their world. The final video showed a meeting between First One leaders and human tribal chiefs. The first ones made a promise. They would never return to Earth if the humans agreed to stay on their planet. Both sides looked exhausted, damaged by the war. A first one spoke directly to the camera. "This warning is for all who follow us. The species called humans must be left alone. They are primitive in technology, but not in spirit or intelligence. They learn quickly, adapt to any situation, and never stop fighting. We could destroy their world, but the cost would be too high. Leave them in peace, or you will find no peace yourself. The video ended. Valora sat in stunned silence. The warning hadn't been to protect the universe from humans. It had been to protect the universe from having to destroy humans, because the cost would be too great. Outside her chamber, Valora heard human voices and the sound of boots on the floor. They were getting closer. Meanwhile, in another part of the ship, Captain Zrel stood with his hands raised as armed humans entered the bridge. Their weapons looked simple but effective. Their faces showed no fear, only determination. A human female with stars on her uniform stepped forward. "I am General Maria Hernandez. Where are our people?" Before Zrel could answer, the door opened and Commander Sarah Chen walked in with the other 11 scientists. They looked tired but unharmed. "General," Chen said with a salute, "all captives accounted for." General Hernandez nodded, then turned back to Zrel. "Now, Captain, we need to talk about what happens next." Zrel looked at the humans surrounding him. The ancient warning now made perfect sense. These weren't just primitive beings. They were warriors who had once fought the most advanced species in the galaxy to a standstill. And his people had made the same mistake all over again. 3 days after the human forces captured the alien ships, representatives from both sides met to decide what would happen next. The meeting took place on the main alien vessel in a large room with a round table. On one side sat Captain Zrel, Science Director Valora, and Council Representative Kellex, who had arrived from the Galactic Council in a small emergency ship. On the other side sat General Hernandez, Commander Chen, and President Garcia. The room was silent for a long moment. Then General Hernandez spoke first. "You took 12 of our people," she said in a calm, firm voice. "You studied them without permission. You treated them like animals." Kellex, the oldest of the aliens, bowed his head slightly. "We admit this was wrong. We should have respected the ancient warning. We found the old recordings," Valora added quietly. "We understand now why the warning was given." President Garcia leaned forward. "Good. Then you understand that we could destroy your ships and your council would never know what happened to you. But that's not what we want." The aliens looked surprised. They had expected anger, revenge, or at least harsh demands. "What do you want?" asked Captain Zrel. General Hernandez placed a small device on the table that projected a list into the air. 1. You will return all our people safely. 2. You will give us all the data you collected about our species and delete it from your systems. 3. You will sign a binding non-interference agreement promising that your people will never enter our solar system again without explicit permission. The aliens looked at each other in confusion. These demands were reasonable, even generous. "You could destroy us now," said Kellex, studying the humans' faces. "Why negotiate?" General Hernandez's expression remained calm. "Because unlike you, we respect warnings, and we're giving you one. Leave our solar system and never return. Tell others what happened here. The next species that violates our space won't receive an opportunity to talk." The aliens quickly agreed to the terms. Within hours, the paperwork was complete. As Council Representative Kellex signed the final document, he asked Commander Chen a question. "During your captivity, you seemed to be studying us as much as we were studying you. Why?" Chen smiled slightly. "Know your enemy. It's the first rule of warfare." Medical Director Lorick, who had joined the meeting, suddenly realized something disturbing. The medical scans he had performed on the humans showed unusual activity in their brains, patterns consistent with intensive memorization. "They were memorizing our technology," he whispered to Valora. "Our weapons, our ship designs, our communication systems." Valora's eyes widened. Even while captive, the humans had been gathering intelligence. As the meeting ended, President Garcia stood to make a final statement. "We will allow your ships to leave our system unharmed. The agreement we've signed today protects both our peoples. But remember this, humanity will not remain confined to Earth forever. We will explore the stars at our own pace and in our own way. When we're ready to join the wider universe, we expect to be treated as equals, not specimens. The aliens watched as the humans left the room, walking with confidence and purpose. For the first time, the aliens saw humans not as primitive beings to be studied, but as a young, powerful species to be respected, and perhaps a little feared. Captain Zrel looked out a viewport at Earth, the beautiful blue planet that held such a dangerous species. "We were lucky," he said softly. "The first ones were right to warn us." 1 year had passed since the alien ships left Earth's solar system. The Galactic Council had received the full report from Science Director Valora and Captain Drell about what had happened. Elder Dorn had listened with sad eyes, saying only, "I warned you." The Council voted to create a special exclusion zone around Earth's solar system. No ships were allowed to enter without permission. Signs were placed at the edges of the zone in all major galactic languages. Restricted area. Do not enter. But the humans weren't done with their message. 3 months after the alien ships departed, something strange appeared in the Galactic Council's central database. A new file, accessible to all spacefaring civilizations, had been uploaded somehow. The file contained detailed technical specifications of human weapons capabilities. It showed footage of the captured alien vessels. It included testimony from alien scientists about human adaptability, intelligence, and determination when threatened. No one knew how humans had managed to access the galactic database. It should have been impossible for a Level 2 civilization, but they had done it anyway. The file ended with a simple message in all known languages of the galaxy. The species known as humans wishes to be left in peace. We will explore the stars at our own pace and make contact when we choose. Any attempt to interfere with our development, study us without consent, or enter our territory without permission will be considered an act of war. This is not a threat. It is a promise. In the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, representatives from 1,000 worlds watched the human message with different reactions. Some were afraid. Some were angry. But all of them took it seriously. Science Director Valora, now working in a small research lab far from the council, watched the message too. She wasn't surprised. During their captivity, the humans had gathered more information than anyone had realized. "They're coming," she said to herself. "Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. And we need to be ready." On Earth, in a secure facility deep beneath the White House, President Garcia met with her top military and scientific advisors. On screens around the room, they could see alien reactions to their message. "Do you think they'll respect our warning?" asked General Hernandez. President Garcia nodded. "For now, we've given them something to think about." Commander Chen, now promoted to Admiral, pointed to a hologram showing Earth's new defense system. Using technology adapted from the alien ships, humans had built a network of satellites that could detect any approaching vessel from light years away. "We'll see them coming next time," she said. "And we'll be ready." Dr. Rodriguez adjusted his glasses and smiled. "The information we gathered from their ships has advanced our technology by at least 50 years. Soon we'll develop our own faster-than-light travel." President Garcia looked at the star map showing thousands of inhabited worlds beyond their solar system. "When we go out there," she said, "it will be on our terms, not as specimens to be studied, but as equals to be respected." Across the universe, advanced civilizations heeded the new warning. The unremarkable blue planet was left alone, its dangerous inhabitants allowed to develop without interference. The humans had been disturbed, and the universe would never be the same again.